All right, good morning, everyone. We are back live. Usually we do fractional Fridays, but some of my scheduling got changed, so we're doing this on Thursday. So welcome back, Joseph.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, I finally got my days all straightened out. Yesterday I went live and I said like Tuesday, and it was Wednesday. So yeah, I'm all messed up here. But today is Thursday. We're gonna catch up on some fractional real estate. And so yeah, fill us in, Joseph. What is going on in fractional real estate, and what are you seeing out there?
So, a couple things. I think the biggest news is Arrived Homes has a secondary market. Um, I figured I can go ahead and share my screen so I can let you know what that is if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right, let me see. I want to share the whole window. Yeah. All right, let's see. So, we talked about this last time. I think this is Arrived Homes. I did the thing again where I can't actually see the screen I'm sharing. So let me know if it doesn't look like we're on Arrived Homes. But we talked a little bit about this. They're the biggest fractional real estate company out there, as far as I know at the moment. They've got about 500 homes listed. I've never been interested in their deals at all. Their stated returns, their yields are just so incredibly low relative to a lot of the other stuff out there. And it's because there's a lot of costs because they're trying to be, they're selling actual securities. They have a lot of compliance costs. But anyway, what the news is, what they've done differently that just started is now they have a secondary market, which means before you have to buy you buy the shares in the property, and you get your monthly payment for your dividends, but you'd never be able to sell it until the property sold. You never got that liquidity event. Well, now, 4 times a year, they're going to open it up so that you can sell on their secondary market, and they just have this little button here, and you can go and sell or buy shares on this secondary market, where it gives the original investors some liquidity. But the reason I think this is exciting is now you can actually potentially find some real deals on here, because you can see people that are trying to sell out. I don't know, is this too small? Can you see the negative percentages here?
I mean, I'm sure someone can see. Depends if they're what they're watching on their
Yeah,
phone. Might be a little hard, but I
but so
just
you
watch.
can see
That
like
means
this,
watch the replay, everyone, on your desktop.
right? And so like you can see like this top property. There are some shares, and we don't know how many. You have to click into here, and I don't like to do that when we're doing this because the little pop-ups don't seem to show. But some of the shares are listed at a 15% discount to Arrived Homes valuation, which is not not necessarily the true valuation, but you can see that there's the potential at least to start to get some discounts. Um, if you remember when I talk about Lofty a lot and how I don't think there's a lot of great properties on there, but there's a lot of opportunity because you are allowed to trade the shares with other people, and so basically by being a liquidity provider, you can sometimes get really good discounts on there. So far, I haven't seen fantastic discounts on Arrive, but this is the first week that they've had a secondary market. It's only open through tomorrow, so it'll be really interesting to see like where that goes. Um, so I think that's the biggest news in our space, at least right now. Um, I don't know. I think it's exciting. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little nerdy to get real excited about that, but I think that oh, what am I doing there? Maybe I'll leave this on here for right now. Uh, but yeah, that oh, one of the things though that really is frustrating, the secondary market is only open to people who are already invested on Arrive. Um, I told you at the beginning, I've never found anything on there I found particularly compelling, so I had not been an investor on Arrive until I found out the secondary market was opening. So I had to rush and go buy something, and I just picked a property, bought the minimum amount, spent $100, and so now I have one, but I have to wait 60 days to actually participate in this secondary marketplace.
So I'm in the traditional, brick and mortar type real estate space, I would say. would you say like the fractional real estate space is kind of impacted, or people should be paying attention to like the same thing, like mortgage rates, the economy, like the news that comes out and jobs data? So are do those type of things are going to also impact like the fractional real estate side, you think?
So it's really interesting. When you're buying fractional real estate, you're kind of getting to time travel because I don't have to worry about what's the rate today. When I buy into this particular property, if it already has a mortgage on it, which a lot of these do, I'm getting it with the debt that's in place, right? So if it's if they bought this when rates were 3.5, that's my rate on this property. So it actually, I think it has a little bit smaller of an impact. Now, of course, it should affect valuations, right? If I'm looking at, well, what's this investment worth compared to something I could go buy somewhere else? You'd think that having that embedded low mortgage rate in some of these, older properties on here would mean that there's a little bit more value. I honestly think at the moment, people are not really digging deep enough into the financials on a lot of these deals to correctly price the changes in rates and how they should affect the fractional real estate in general. Now, I think obviously new properties being launched on the platform, it's going to have a big impact on those. But as far as existing properties, um, you get whatever rates already there, right? The mortgage is in place, and you're just buying into the equity.
And can you kind of maybe fill the audience, and also like who are we going to get on as a special guest in maybe 15 to 20
Oh,
minutes?
absolutely. And so it's his name's Limas. He's the creator of Lofty Assist, which is this website. So I talk a lot about Lofty. This is one of the bigger platforms in the fractional real estate space, and so I'm just going to give you an example. So this is I think, what is this, 8 units? I own a little piece of this. Yeah, it's an 8 unit mixed use property. I'm right now looking at the Lofty website. When I look on here, this rental yield, this is the yield they're annualizing last month's yield. They're not giving me any other historic financial information on their site. If I dig into the documents, I can find P&Ls sometimes for certain lengths of time, but it's really hard to find out what these tokens actually have yielded by looking on Lofty's site. Well, Limas has been an investor on this platform, and like me, he actually wants to make good real estate investments, not just look at some pictures, look at what this yield is, and then make a decision based on that. So he started tracking this stuff. He created this website, mostly, I think, with that sort of thing in mind. Although now it's a really robust, like, you can look up any property on Lofty. You can look up a lot of different data on it. Most of the people that I know that take investing in Lofty seriously are using Lofty Assist more than you only go to Lofty to actually buy the tokens. You use Lofty Assist to really dig into the property itself, get the stats. But the thing I really like that he's doing, so okay, you look at this property right now, it says rental yield 4%. This token typically trades a decent amount more than this. I actually bought some of these this week at like $46 or $47, which is a good time to say. Just because I buy this stuff doesn't mean that you should, right? You got to do your own due diligence on all these properties. But people were selling this because they saw the 4% yield. Well, we had some expenses this month that were not typical, right? If you look on his platform, he's been tracking it, and he only started this platform 9 months ago, so he's only got data for 9 months. Lofty doesn't put it anywhere that it's like that he can pull it, right? And that's this has been my biggest complaint about Lofty since day one, is they don't provide historical financial data in any format that is easy to access, and really not at all on their website, only through the Dropbox. But so on here, I can look at this and say, okay, wait, this property over the 9 months it's been on the platform has had an average yield of 24%, right? I don't care that last month it traded at, it only made 4%. Like this is this is a much more important piece of data. And so I really think this was where he started. But you can see it's doing all kinds of other stuff too. this particular property, because it's 8 units, you can go in here and see, okay, when are the leases going to expire? This is important because we want to make sure the property manager's on top of that. If we're not getting notices about renewals and whatnot, it gives us the ability to really be on top of the property. I don't want to speak too much for him either, but I think that we're going to see, this is currently Lofty Assist in tracking this platform. I think we're going to see him be a data aggregator for multiple sites over time, right? He's kind of, figured out what's important to us fractional real estate investors, figured out how to present that data in a way that makes it much easier for us to buy into deals. He's added calculators. So for one of the things, on Lofty in particular, but a lot of times it's tough to figure out, okay, when this property sells in real life, what's it going to be worth? Well, he's got a property calculator for that. He's got, you can make some assumptions and mess around with your rental income. And, he's added all these different things. And so I don't know, I use this all the time. So it is, um, very helpful platform for trading on Lofty. And like I said, I think he'll eventually roll out something similar. I think Arrived is a very obvious next step because now they have this secondary market that acts pretty similarly. Although, it's going to take a while to access the data that they have, right? Because so I think it is it's almost like a Zillow or a realtor.com, right? It's like, you can't go on those properties and buy the property, but but we use those to get all the good info before we do move forward on that.
Just want to remind everyone, Joseph has a YouTube channel, which he probably puts out daily videos on fractional real estate. So go check out his channel, go subscribe. I know you posted on X. Did you get to 600 subscribers? I know that was your next goal.
I did. I think I'm at like 602 right now. So that was
Nice, awesome.
exciting.
If anyone else is here that hasn't checked it out, go check it out. Please subscribe. I just want to also remind everyone, sorry if there is some background noise when I am speaking. I just had shoulder surgery the other Monday, so I do have my ice compression on to kill two birds with one stone while I'm doing these live streams. But also, you like you said, I think your advantage, as you kind of touched on before, is that you have more of a real estate background. So, do you see certain types of properties on these sites getting certain traction, I guess, are more interesting and are starting to kind of be the first ones that people go to?
So what? Yeah, there's a couple things. One, a lot of these markets are you have like two very different groups of people that are attracted to them. So depending on the platform itself, like Arrived, I think attracts like some very like risk averse, looking for, they really like that it's SE, that they're SEC registered securities, or whatever that process is. That you have those people, they're okay with the low yield, they really just want hoping to get some appreciation in the long run, but very much just parking money. So you have like it's really like two diametrically opposed people. And then like Lofty, you have mostly people that came from the crypto world. Because Lofty is very much focused on it's on the Algorand blockchain. You're trading tokens, it's not shares. And so you have like a lot of like just real yield chasers and people that have absolutely no concept of risk. And I think that I'm putting that nicely when I say that, is that the average user on there is like very much, I'm looking for a high number right here, and that's all I care about. And so I think honestly that's where the opportunity is on Lofty, is if you look at these properties and understand the real estate fundamentals. Like for example, okay, this had some turnover and some repairs and maintenance that were larger expenses that are not going to be recurring, right? And so this 4%, it's a down month. Every piece of property is going to have down months sometimes. And so understanding the longer term view of what this is gives you the opportunity to buy in when all those people are selling out because they don't like last month's yield. Um, and then, so I think for me, like where it creates some opportunity are properties like short-term rentals, where you have very uneven income. If you picked, you could probably pick 4 or 5 short-term rentals on this platform. Have ones that have different seasonality, and just if that would be your whole strategy, is buy them in the off season, sell them in the high season, because we had low yield, everybody sells. They have high yield, everybody buys. And I know that sounds crazy to anybody who's like actually into real estate and understands this as a long-term investment, but at the moment it's the way the site behaves.
I just want to say good morning to a lot of people tuning in right now. We have JLD Systems, Jeff from York, Pennsylvania. He's in the school community also. Charles McEwen's here. Big Val. A lot of school community people here today. We got JC tuning in. Joe V. As usual, Flavio from Grandview, Washington is tuning in. Let's see who else is here. I see All Nighter Hider is back. And we have Bill tuning in. He has changed his handle. He's trying to try something new. He said it was Harsh Reality to Fire, I believe. But now it's all Fire Up is his new handle. So thanks for tuning in. Let's see what else we got here. All Fire Up is thinking about doing YouTube. So let's quickly. Hey, Brett's here tuning in. What's up, man? Seen you too much recently. But Bill is, I guess, he's thinking about starting YouTube. Joseph, and that's something new that you ventured into this year. What advice would you maybe give him?
So for me, do it if your plan is to have fun and make friends online, not because you think there's like some big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow doing this, right? Like this is a side project to a side project. This is probably like 4 layers deep for me. This is not something where I ever think it's going to be, a big income producer. I know that's not, obviously my experience is not everybody's, but I don't necessarily think it's a space where I don't know. I think a lot of people get into it for the wrong reasons, which is why I want to mention that. Um, that being said, I mean, even without being monetized, I do make a little money on the site, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're having a lot of fun, right? There's a lot of
That
people
that's
kind of in
that's
your
the main
circle, right?
goal, right?
And it
I
is
mean,
also why you joined school too, right? And you've kind of found some people that you kind of have a lot of fun with and just kind of relate with.
yeah, absolutely. So it's a big part of why I joined school. It's also, so my channel has been my main driver to, I've got a Discord set up for fractional real estate investors, and it's basically the only way people find it. And I think we've got 120 people on there right now. All people investing on different platforms and different types of fractional real estate, jumping in there, having discussions about whatever platform, comparing them, because all the platforms have their different places where you can go talk about them. But there wasn't like a nice community where we could just be like comparing them, right? Or really also too, like sometimes I don't love to go into Lofty's Discord and say terrible things about them, right? Like I know they're reading, so I keep that for mine. um Honest, I try to be open about all of it, but it just is a little bit more comfortable. So I think that YouTube has been a fantastic way to like sort of suck people into that community and like have people that I can talk to regularly. And then yeah, I mean, and even getting to do stuff like this, I mean, I just enjoy, right? I like talking about real estate in general. The fractional stuff has really been borderline obsession for almost a year now. So having people that'll listen to me just talk about it every day is fun.
Yeah, well, congratulations on getting to 600. I mean, that's no easy feat. Like you said, though, you're enjoying it. I think that's the biggest thing, right? As long as you're gonna have fun with it, because it
Yeah,
is about staying consistent on it, as I'm sure you notice, right? And that's why I see probably daily you put something out, right, on your channel.
I try to put out one long video and one short every day. I've had a couple of days this year where I missed, but almost every single day, I'll do that. I'm gonna have one day off this weekend because I'm going on a trip, and I can't unless I can figure out to record something ahead of time. I'm gonna take Saturday off, but other than that, yeah, I'm trying to put out something every day.
So, like I said, everyone, there is Joseph's YouTube channel. So go please subscribe if you haven't yet. Go check it out. So yeah, we're talking about fractional real estate. In probably about maybe 10 minutes or so, we'll be expecting one of the founders of Lofty Assist on to kind of talk about that platform. And I think. Oh, go ahead. You have something to say?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say. So one, he is a one man show right now. So I don't want to over sell it. So he is the founder, CEO, CTO, COO, CMO, all that stuff. But yeah, so he'll be joining. I wanted to show you just the one more thing that I just love about the platform that he's built. That like this where this data isn't available anywhere else, and I'm really hoping that this gets rolled out to all the other ones. I think that I don't want to talk too nice about him once he gets on, so I want to share all the great stuff about it before he gets here. So he does this state of the marketplace where he's basically tracking data on every single property that's actively traded on there, meaning it has a liquidity pool. They have some properties on there that you can only do like these limit orders on, but those don't get tracked. But so like every day I pull this up to just see like, okay, are there more sells or buys on the platform, right? I thought it was real interesting to see like, okay, how much volume is actually taking place, right? It's one of the it's a very thinly traded market, so really understanding that you can see like, okay, I talked about on average people lose money on here, right? Like you have to be very selective in picking good properties. This is the average token price right here, $33.49. Every property gets listed on the platform initially at $50. So on average, they've had like a 32%, 32, yeah, somewhere around 32 or 30, somewhere around there, 32, 33% decline in price since they've been listed, right? Now the opportunity for us as investors is, okay, well, I don't buy them at $50 typically. I'm buying the ones that are deeply discounted. Some as cheap as like I've bought some tokens for $8.50 that somebody originally paid $50 for. And then those particular ones I sold when they hit like 15 or something because I thought that was really their full value. But seeing this, all this, it makes it's sort of like creating, it's giving us all the tools that you sort of have on other types of investments, right? Like you can see how's the whole market moving on this platform, what's the trading volume look like. You can see on Lofty, I mean, they've just had a ton, there's way more people selling off than buying. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. They've had a lot of different little scandals. At this point, it's so far sold that I'm starting to find a lot of real deep value again. He's sharing stuff on like all the new users coming to the platform. Just I don't know, all this info I think helps us to make more and more informed decisions on here, and so that's why, like I said, hopefully over time we start to see this same sort of thing developed for all the different fractional sites. I think Lofty made sense to start with because I mean their platform is just terrible at trying to really understand what the value of the property is. Um, which I do want to mention one other thing that I think is kind of funny, and I don't know. Hopefully, we have time to get into this before he gets here. But if not, and we can talk about it more at another time. So, each one of these entities that owns a property, they're called DAOs, right? Like it's a decentralized autonomous organization. Um, it's one entity in one property is how they get listed. But then you have votes like, okay, what are we doing? We have control over these properties just like we owned them. Well, now we have groups of people that have decided that they want to operate these more like a holding company than like just this my individual entity for each property, like a normal real estate investor would do. And so, they're buying Bitcoin inside of these entities. They're making hard money loans to other properties inside of these entities. They're accumulating tokens and other properties in these entities. So I actually think it is a huge step in the wrong direction because it's making it even more difficult to price properties or price tokens. But I think it's one of the more interesting things that's developing in this space right now. And as that plays out, I'm sure that it'll come, we'll end up having a lot of good stories around it.
So on these platforms, you can get daily payouts, correct?
Lofty, you get paid out daily. Most of the other platforms, you're getting paid out monthly. It just I'm trying to think. And then like ground floor is another one that's you're investing in notes, and so you just get paid out randomly whenever the note gets paid off. So it varies, but yeah, I mean, Lofty is the only one that's doing daily payouts right now. Uh, it at least that I'm on, right? I think that there might be some other ones too. I know that there are some fake fractional sites, like they pretend to be fractional, but it's really like a private REIT or a fund. And most people don't really get the difference, and so there's a lot of people that are on those sites, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I invest in fractional real estate. I have a piece of this fund." Um, so some of those actually you'll get paid daily or weekly as well.
Do you
I don't
see
think it.
that? Do
Oh,
you
go ahead.
see that as maybe part of the? Sometimes people are looking at the short-term vision of these properties and not the long-term play of them.
Right. Well, and I think especially on Lofty, everything they've done has pushed people into looking at it in a short term way. The only actual yield they give you is last month's annualized yield. They pay you out daily. They do, they were one of the first ones to have trading on there. And so that created some of that as well. But I think just in general, um, I think those things, particularly the daily rent, the monthly annualized numbers, the lack of historical context for properties, all of that stuff, I think is what like sort of moved people in that direction. I think it's a poor decision on their part, but they just have other priorities, and they think it hasn't been their focus. Um, I also think a lot of the people that invest on here think, oh, I'm getting paid daily. It means I'm able to reinvest my money quicker. And I think that's not really true if you think about, okay, that daily rent that I'm getting, what they're doing is taking whatever the NOI was last month, and then they're breaking it up over the next 30 days. And so I'm actually getting my money slower because they've held that money, they've had it for a month. And my last, my 30th payment that I get, Lofty was just holding for a month. So um, even though, at the same time, I can buy a token and I'll get paid whatever the rent is on that token today. So if it's one that's been operating, then I'm starting to get instant compounding. But I don't know. I don't think that the math of it doesn't really work the way some of the people think that it does. When they talk about like they get it. There's a bunch of people that are really excited about the daily payouts and like complain about monthly payouts on some of the other platforms. And I don't think that anybody's that's good at math is really bothered by it.
Got all nighter hider here saying he's played around with ground floor before. Maybe you can give a thumbs up, thumbs down, hider. Jeff JLD System says, oh, he has another commitment. He's gonna be taking off, so he says, have a great day, Jeff. If you are still here, just a reminder: in the school community, the Western PA call is today. I think Jack and Harrison, they're running their Thursday call. I believe they said Simon, the uneducated economist, will be there today. So come check us out. I see some people tuning in from Instagram. We got Ned, Florence, Sub2 Sean. So if you are there on Instagram, come check us out on YouTube. And we have our special guest. Hold on. Let's add him.
Oh, awesome. And I'm going to stop sharing for the moment.
Okay.
Oh, I shouldn't have closed it.
Yeah. So, Limus, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Joseph has had a lot of nice things to say about you.
Oh,
But
you weren't supposed to tell them.
if you
Thanks.
want to quickly maybe share to my audience who you are and where do you work, I guess.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. Just to make sure you can hear me okay? All right, awesome. So yeah, as you said, my name is Limus. I'm the creator of Lofty Assist. And yeah, that was my path to fractional real estate. I started as just like a regular user, found a platform through blockchain. So, it seems like some of the, or maybe a lot of Lofty users are split into two big parts. Some of them found it through blockchain, and some of are just the regular real estate investors in real world. And so I came from blockchain land. I was just a regular user, decided like, hey, what is this site? And then, yeah, as they say, the rest is history. Ended up creating a full-blown website, Lofty Assist, that has grown quite a bit. I think if you are an advanced user, you are most likely Lofty Assist user. If you're advanced, like Lofty user, and if you have a lot invested in the platform, you are probably also a premium subscriber to Lofty Assist. So that's my quick background, and I can go into more details if
Yeah.
Hey,
So
you
so,
if
want.
so, oh,
you
go
mind if I
ahead,
just?
go ahead, Joe.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say, just to give you a little context, Limus, I did show him the site before you got on.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Basically, just showed him how, for me, the most important thing you're doing is tracking historical yields. Something that I don't know. I don't know if that's the first thing you started doing, but I know you started doing it early and it was important. But just basically showed him some general things about the platform and explained like why I thought Lofty was a good starting point for it, right? Because their lack of info or the way they present it and whatnot. So just
Yeah.
wanted to share that, but sorry to cut you off, Mark.
Yeah, and the way I started, I began as a regular user. I was like, oh, cool, there's all these properties. And then things would just change on the property, and I would have no way of knowing that it changed. And like there was suddenly yield would stop. And you see Joe this all the time in Discord on Lofty. They'll be, hey, what's going on in this property? I just noticed that I'm not being paid. Or suddenly you're getting paid much less. Like, well, why? Is it because there were some expenses? Did the rent decrease? All that stuff. So I had a really hard time as a starting out user to get a sense of what's going on with the property once I'm in. I think at that time I didn't do as good of a due diligence and research to care about the historical data. But then I realized once I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute, there is no even like the past record of what's going on. So those were, and I guess those two things tied in very well into the first feature that people at Lofty really loved, and that was the latest updates feed. Um, that shows you, hey, here's what, if something changes with a property, you will know right, or as soon as Lofty publishes it, you will know right away. um and I don't know how you guys want to do it, but I can actually show some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly though, maybe so like someone new to fractional real estate, like how would you simply explain to them what fractional real estate is all about?
I would say that the way I would describe it to them, hey, it's very new, very risky. We're not sure where we'll end up, so don't go crazy. But the promise is there for you to be able to acquire real estate without having to go and see properties in real life, without having to manage properties yourself and figure out who's going to be the PM and what kind of updates you will do to it, and all the other headaches that come with it, without having to screen all the tenants if you're renting properties out. So the promise is there for a sort of this less friction to own real estate. And I would say that platforms differ in what they bring to their users, to the end users. So I would caution a new beginner that take your time. There's no need to rush. Um, you will see there's a lot of that short of calling like FOMO in some of the communities. Like, oh my God, Mogul released this new property, and just people, you can see the way they talk about it on even on Joe's Discord. It's like, hey, did you release a video? Yeah, did you release a video? I was like, as if it's the last property that will come on Mogul. It is not, yes, and it's good for those platforms, right? That you can see the sales on Mogul are going crazy. Like the properties are selling out very fast. But
So we
yeah,
have Nick here. He's starting a YouTube channel. He's a real estate investor, but has kind of pivoted more towards the Bitcoin space. But there's his YouTube channel, Lead Pray Hold. So go please subscribe to him. He'll be back live streaming with me on Monday. But he says, "Hello, fellas. Getting off zero always important. Fractional real estate or Bitcoin. Buy hard assets." So I think your explanation of fractional real estate was great for maybe someone if you were speaking with someone from the real estate background side and trying to explain to them what Lofty AI is. Now, if you were speaking to someone more in the crypto space, and then you were trying to explain to them why would they want to invest or use Lofty AI platform? How would you break it down to them what fractional real estate is?
If you are coming from crypto world, I would say it's one of the first few, it's one of the few and first products that seems to be useful in how you can pay with your dollars on the blockchain. It's not, everything you heard before that about cryptocurrencies and blockchains was NFTs and lending or some sort of DeFi. It's always DeFi pools, harvesting, farming, on and on and on. But it's always about the wheel of lending, swapping, and things like that. And there's been numerous attempts, right, to find a real use case for blockchain, and this one ties in really well. So if let's say you're coming from crypto background and you have your favorite blockchain, I would say, yeah, this is your way to support your blockchain. So this is a way to maybe even say, hey, look, here's something that's useful that's built on the blockchain. And is it a critical part of it? Like, could Loft exist without the blockchain? Sure. But I think being in a blockchain opens up a lot of different aspects to it. Like Joe knows, right? The wallets being open, being visible, seeing all the cash flowing. So you're not at the mercy of the platform owner to tell you what's going on with the platform.
We
which
we
is
do we
extremely
do have a
helpful.
question from Instagram. I'm trying to. It says, "How is this different than fractional, who raise capital and also you can co-own properties, or is it similar?"
So I think they're asking about fractional.app, which is another fractional real estate site. They are, I don't really talk about them much. I was in there a fractional accelerate where I could see every single deal they had on. They're really focused on you build a small community there, you bring a deal to it, and you sell pieces. And so it's the same idea, but they're more focused on fundraising, like for a new deal versus
Right there.
bringing existing deals onto the platform. And then, as far as I understand, they don't have any secondary market. So you're stuck in that deal until it's sold in the future. Um, you know, I don't. I spent a lot of time going through deals on there, and I've never seen anything I thought was particularly exciting. And this is true. I mean, I go to a lot of different platforms, and I say this. There was one flipper on there who I think offered a real good deal, but then I never saw him come back. He probably realized I paid people too much. Um, but I think that they end up getting like a lot of these sort of weird businesses. They get laundromats, they get just stuff that is hard to raise money for somewhere else. They have a lot of like real estate related income type deals. uh I honestly think it has more people that I think I would not want to put my money with than many of the other platforms. But that's just my personal opinion.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And Mark,
Hider.
yeah, that's this Hyder's question about the blockchain being perfect for the voting accountability.
Yep.
You know, again, you see the promise of the blockchain, right? That's what it was all about: the transparency, the visibility, and actually, you do get that. That it does get it. Now, does it solve the problems of community making decisions about the properties? There's it doesn't end there. Just because the voting is on the blockchain, just because you can see how the votes progress and what the outcome is. Again, I agree with you. That's great. That's the visibility we get. And again, we're not at the mercy of, let's say, Lofty to show us what the results are. And actually, we had a couple instances on Lofty AI where voting came out, results came out, and people were so confused. Like, how can this vote? How can the community reach this particular vote? Let's go double check the votes. And they legitimately went on a blockchain and they looked at the votes that were recorded. So yeah, I agree with you. It is a great way to sort of like publicly and store it. And and if, let's say, Lofty tried to go back and adjust the results, or somebody went back, tried to be like, oh, let me fix it and fix the results, you would know about it because it's on the blockchain. So yes, yeah, it's definitely there, but the problem still of crowds exist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if there's anything you do want to share on your screen, I know Joseph's always talking about too how like he says he's blending more that real estate background with the crypto space, and he feels like since you Lofty is a newer platform, you folks are always taking into account the feedback that you're getting from the community and whatnot. So how big does a role does Joseph unofficially play, I guess, as far as um, recommendations or improvements to the platform?
Well, me personally, a huge role. Um, I can show you some of the properties. So you can see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm just showing the bare bones website. I created a demo account so we don't have to expose any data. But when you start out, it's basically a blank slate with some filler content so that you have something nice to start off. You can decide to browse properties and see what's happening, like what's available, do some sort of sorting that's available on them. But this is very rudimentary, nothing too crazy. But the very first feature that I think was a huge hit and let me know if I'm jumping into advanced topics right away. This is the hard thing about Lofty Assist is that it is geared towards a user who already is familiar with Lofty properties, knows them in and out, and now they sort of need the tools to wrap their heads around. But just to give you the first feature that was a big hit was this updates stream. And what it is imagine there's 170 properties on the platform. And just to keep it all like track in your head, for example, would be really hard. Do it manually. That's what a lot of people seem to have been doing before Lofty Assist arrived, and some of them are still doing it. There's definitely an option. You can go on the website and sort of like record yourself um, different values about the properties. But what Lofty Assist does for you, essentially daily tells you if anything changed with properties. And if you own them, they're actually going to be shown differently. So for example, in this case, this Fairland Drive property, the owner uploaded mortgage statement. They had some repairs documentation. So you already get in a sense like, okay, there's some repairs that happen. You might not have seen that. You might have not known that. If let's say you're a regular Lofty user, you're just hanging around, you go into work, you do your work, you have no idea this is just really happened. Like, wait, repairs? What repairs? But now, you know right away something was going on. You can start digging in. If there is P&L statements coming in, sometimes you know about them ahead of like the masses, or before it's announced, or before anything is filed so you get
And this is
P&L.
huge. I don't want to. I don't want to. Sorry to jump in, but I think
Interrupt all the time. Yeah.
that's a big deal. If you can get ahead of some of that income info or some of the expense info, it gives you the opportunity to trade before the token price adjusts to this stuff. And this is why I love this platform.
Yeah, and actually files, I think initially when I did it, I only was tracking things like, well, right now it's all files. Oh, here we go. There's some metrics that change about the properties. Those are the first ones I focused on. And actually files was one of the first Joe's suggestions. It's like, hey, there's these documents that come in. We should know about that early on. So that's what I did. But my initial thing was like very important, like let's say yield. If somebody it's going from 0 to now 4.72% yield, then you can start digging in like, wait, what's going on in this property? And you can see a little property update going on. I even show you if a modified description, and that has been sometimes useful. If Lofty modifies description, like remove certain like rental credit, it's gonna go away. So a lot of times this is where it's like, oh, rental credit will go away, or like there's rental credit updates to it. This happens in the description, so people know right away. Income per token right now jumped in. And again, you have a file that came in. So it's very, very useful. There's governance laws that come out. Again, sometimes there are days where there's tons of governance laws going on. You might, your inbox is cluttered, or you might not see it, or you might not have arrived to you yet because it is a mail routing system.
Or Lofty
So
just
you
stopped sending you emails. That happens.
so so you end up you can actually see what was this one was some vote. Okay, what did the vote talk about? I think Joe mentioned, I listened to your stream a little bit just before joining. Joe was talking about how one of the DAOs is trying to become a holder of a bunch of other assets. So this is the voting outcome that where they're discussing this idea. So this was number one hit, the first one that a lot of people loved, and I think Loftus took off from there. Um, and then the second thing, I think, again, this is going to be a lot of numbers, can be a little bit overwhelming, but I think that advanced users like this. Each property, I try to put everything in as much places as is, try to give you as much information as possible without completely overwhelming you and make it useful and usable. But you essentially get everything here. For me personally, I still love this percentage amount. And then you look at properties real quick. I want to know, it's like, hey, management fee. Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. Sometimes I see we actually have caught many mistakes where this management fee was incorrectly tripled, doubled, sometimes by accident, sometimes miscommunication. But in one glance, you're like, boop, there it is. The yield information, this one, like cap rate, is being calculated on actual data, historical data. So one of the things that Lofty doesn't have is historical data tracking at all, and it's very hard. So a lot of times you look at the property, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing property. But then you actually look at it's a short-term sort of gain going on due to, let's say, debt. This loan tracking, again, it's very kind of hidden information, not really hidden on the Lofty website. But here I'm tracking how much loans do you have, what's the loan APR, what's the monthly mortgage statement, what was the last time they have uploaded the statement for you as an end user. And funny enough, not sure, Joe, if you noticed, but for me, I was thinking about it this morning, how outdated documentation is usually a good sign how poorly the property will do.
Right. Well, before you added this and before you started paying attention, there were properties on there, and I mean, there might still be some, but it was common to have a property that hadn't uploaded a mortgage statement in 6 or 8 months. If I'm a
That was one.
co-owner in a property, I want to know that mortgage is paid, and they just weren't doing it. And now is an easy way to check that.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things that I did, I think, in for the Lofty community. I remember creating a report that was like mortgage report, and we showed all the properties that had out of date mortgages, and just going to the different Discord channels and being like, hey, would you mind uploading the latest mortgage statement? Would you mind? And right now they I will say, like, since then they've been doing much better job.
Right.
And I guess it makes sense, right? Because if this information is not exposed, nobody sees it. All right, well, why do I do the work? But now actually people bring it up, see it, and if it does get out of date, you will see some notification here. This is really outdated and things like that. So well brought up.
Would you say like this platform is designed more for like passive users or for someone to kind of optimize um, their use of Lofty, I guess, in a sense? So is it for someone that's really wants to be more of a hands-off person, or is this for someone that really wants to optimize and track data trends, like a data nerd kind of person?
Lofty Assist is definitely for the non-passive. The Lofty Assist can help you with just say like, hey, I have $5,000. Tell me where to put it. Lofty Assist cannot help you like, hey, I have $100,000 worth of properties. I hope they are okay. And but what it does is, if let's say you do want to be serious and you want to invest a little bit more than like $50, $1,000, $10,000, there's accounts of more money invested. Then what it does is it allows you to quickly get a sense of what's going on with your properties. So it's almost like, if you really wanted to be, if you are an advanced user, you like to be hands-on, but you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours, this platform is for you. You want to get data, you want to get historical data, you want to get heads up when things change, notifications, price alerts. You want to know what's going on with your property and quickly. That's a platform for you.
I just wanted to jump in, Mark, and say Lofty itself is not a good platform for passive users. Some of the fractional sites are. It is the platform where you have to be most on top of due diligence and really active in driving the direction of the property, right? And so that's one of the reasons that I think it made a lot of sense to do a product like this for Lofty first, because probably 90% of the users on Lofty are, in my view, not doing the proper due diligence and asset management that they should be on what they have on there. Because a lot of them got to the platform and they really were promised, despite what the messaging might say today, I think they really were promised more of a passive, like, hey, just buy this, hold it, not really do much. So I don't really fault a lot of the users for that. But at this point in time,
Yeah.
they should realize, okay, that's not what this is. I need to monitor my properties. I need to be making good decisions. And if I want to do that and not spend all day in it like I do, that's what this platform is really good for. It's exactly what it says, right? It's assisting you. It's helping you to just like, okay, hone in on what's important. You can curate your own portfolio on here, so you're just looking at your properties if you want to do that, asset management wise. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure it's clear. Like, I don't think anybody should be passive on Lofty at all. It's, if you want to do that in fractional real estate, you can certainly do it. You still got to do your due diligence on the front end, but you can buy a mogul property and you're not giving them any input into the future. The same thing for Arrived and Arc 7. But Lofty is not that, right? It is the most actively managed fractional real estate.
Yeah. And Joe, you mentioned you can create your properties. That's a good actually example. And if there's any viewers that are blockchain friendly, they will enjoy this. So this is example of a how Lofty being on a blockchain is helpful for outside party like Lofty Assist. All your properties are stored on these things called wallets. And right here, I just grabbed one of the most recent not most recent, one of the recent wallets. I don't know who this person is. I'm not identifying them. I'm not disclosing who they are. But this information is available publicly. It's on the blockchain. So somebody created this wallet. And let's pretend I was the one who created this wallet. So it's my account. I started fresh with Lofty Assist. And this address looks complete gibberish to a regular, let's say, user who's not blockchain agnostic, blockchain friendly, or knows what's going on. They Lofty users know this wallet address. And what you can do, for example, with Lofty Assist, you can kick off a scan of this wallet. And it should quickly tell you what sort of assets in this wallet exist. So well, that's funny. We were looking at this property, and actually they have 20 shares of this property purchased. But anyway, so for example, you can say, okay, I want this. Oh, sorry, this problem. I want these properties now to be tracked on Lofty Assist. So I sync up, and now when I go to my dashboard, you no longer get this blank view, but instead you get this, hey, you owning this five shares of this Rich Top at $22. It's actually a very good price. This Dickens Avenue, 10 shares at $52, and on and on. And now your update stream changes. So you see how one is highlighted. So it's like one of your properties have a change today. So very quickly you can click on that, and you will actually get highlighted just your property. So that allows you to sort of, that's what we're talking about. And we say it's very easy to stay up to date. And actually the system will email you nightly if something changed. Let's say you don't even want to go on a website and you just want to like get a daily report if something changed. And if nothing changed, you'll get zero. Nobody's going to bother you. But this is where it's useful. And this kind of shows the power of blockchain a little bit, right? Because hey, Lofty doesn't expose APIs that for third parties, but here I can bring a third party that assists me in making my investment decisions, and I can do that because I'm on a blockchain And yeah, so basically now Loft Assist will keep track of these properties for you, and you can you will see what your yield is going on, what the current yield, what the historical yield. Was a big feature that Lofty users enjoyed and enjoy, showing you a historical yield. So to say right now it's 1.66, you might ignore this property if you were doing research and you're yield chasing. But you can also look, hey, historically this is yielding really well. So then you can dig in a little bit more and see what's going on, what happened. And it's a little bit difficult to do that digging in part on Lofty, but on Lofty Assist, you can see the chart of a yield. Hey, for almost a year, it's been doing about 15%, and now it's dropped off. You can start like, okay, OR balance went down, cash flow. Okay, so something happened with income. And then you can look at the updates of the property. And there is usually explanations what's going on. And if you are short on time on reading, which a lot of people love this AI summary of updates. And actually, if I find a new property, that's the first thing I do, is just like, give me a quick overview what's going on in this property. And then I can decide what if I want to do a deep dive. So that AI summarized it like, hey, there was tenant changes, major repairs, replacements. Okay, so now you get a sense it's just normal property lifestyle. Okay, you can even get like a occupancy timeline if there was any votes, and that's also very important to get a sense of like, hey, if property has a ton of votes and things like that going on, there's a lot of volatility in the property. But if you see like a normal regular vote, there's like OR reimbursements and things like that, it's like, okay, it's all good. And then it gives you a little conclusion that you can then use to decide if to jump in deeper or not. But yeah, there's a bunch of other features that I don't want to take up all of your time here. But we're talking.
No, I mean this is for you, man. I mean, so if you have any special features or new features or what you're working on that maybe you want to share, go ahead.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. I appreciate that. So one of the things I would like to point out, this is not used as much as I thought it would, but the screeners, and I guess maybe it's even very powerful, but there is all kinds of different ways you can sort the properties. That's really helpful to me. Then I do my due diligence. So for example, like Joe was saying earlier, a lot of properties start at $50, but then they drop off. Sometimes I will hunt for discounts. I'll say, you know what, let me see what's selling for $30 or less. And okay, so now this 170 list got narrowed down to 76. Then I could be, all right, let's make sure that the last 9 months yield was greater than 5%. So let's see what it would. Okay, now we're down to 6 properties. All right, let's see, is there some discounts to be had? And it's sort of like now this 170 property list got narrowed down to 6. And 6 is much more manageable for me to go through and sort of dive in. So the screeners is a big area where I use, and I see some power users use, but not as much as I thought people would use. And maybe it's because it requires effort, things like that. Another thing that I've been adding a lot is this one was pretty cool, new feature, properties map, and I think that one doesn't exist on Lofty. But this shows you all the properties where they exist on Lofty today. So that's why you see all markets, all types, all properties. But then you can only look at your properties, zoom in. So these 3 properties that I just bought, you're like, okay, yeah, this is where they are. I've heard users say that there is some natural disaster events, unfortunately, once in a while. There was one recently in St. Louis, the tornado went through. There's quite a few properties on Lofty that are in this area. So people were like asking for a map, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really good, and quickly put this together. And right now, if I go back to all properties, like, and there it is, here's all the St. Louis properties that exist, and you sort of can get a sense like, oh, should I worry or not about what's going on ahead of time before anybody else mentions. And also geographic diversification is useful. You can see like, okay, what do I have? Oh, okay, I'm here. I'm in the South. Maybe I want to see if there is anything in New York or Denver, things like that. So I can dive in. That was one. Another one that I believe you talked about this one, Joe, I'm assuming.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, so this one again, it's again, probably once you get going and you have a lot invested and you really want to stay on top of the platform, uh, this one for me is very useful. The things I look at is definitely this one, market buy sell pressure, and then the USDC liquidity impulse. So this is clearly, I'm sure, Mark, you have heard a lot about Lofty ongoing issues, um, and here is the proof. Like if you want to see numbers, the impact of those issues on the platform, you know, $500,000 is not a lot of money for a lot of enterprises and things like that. But for the small community, where a pool at one point, there was I want to say how much, 30 million worth of equity kind of locked up, and there was 500,000 of cash in it, and like see 20% of that just leave is like a good sign, like, hey, there's a big problem. So hopefully Lofty's paying attention to this, and the damage that they can see the damage that a few bad actors can have on users' confidence and liquidity on the platform. That should give them sort of motivation to extra, if they already didn't have it, to keep things tighter on the system. Yeah, I just recently added this wallet just to give us a sense of how the platform's overall health. Are the users coming in? Is anybody signing up? We don't know, right? The Lofty can say, hey, we had a great month, but we kind of don't know. But now from a blockchain, we can sort of know and correlate.
Can I just interrupt you real quick, Limas?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we have that's a risk in fractional real estate that you don't really have when you're just buying properties directly is what I always call platform risk, right? We have the risk of what if that platform disappears? And it's really hard to judge that risk looking at these companies from the outside by Limas creating all, a data, someplace where we can see all the data for Lofty in one place. That's why I look at this every single day, because it gives me the ability to understand, like, okay, what kind of platform risk do I have there, right? Is if that number just keeps going down, there's a chance that company just disappears, right? Like that people stop bringing properties to it, that people stop investing on it. So it really opened my eyes to the overall health of the platform, being able to just see the data. And that's all data that's available. I mean, he's pulling it almost all just from the blockchain, I assume, maybe from their API, some, I don't know. But there was no way for me to see that, right? And so that's why I think that particular screen is so important.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, Joseph, like what Lyman shared so far, is there anything else on the Lofty Assist that you think he maybe missed on as far as sharing or the benefits of it and whatnot?
So the that though maybe just a different use. So that wallet scanner that he showed, where you can put your own wallet and see stuff. I know a lot of people like to use that to see. You can kind of sometimes figure out from chatter in the Discord and whatnot what somebody else's wallet is. You might see they talked about, I just picked up these, and so you can see who just went and bought them, and you can take their wallet. And I know a lot of people like to track other people's wallets. Either they think, oh, I want to buy what they're buying, or maybe I don't want to, stuff like that. See where the activity is. Maybe one of the co-owners or managers is picking up shares in something, and we want to understand why. Maybe they know something we don't. So I think that tool, he mentioned you can put your own in there and figure stuff out, but I think it's really good for snooping too.
Yeah, and I was reluctant to release it for a while because of that. But then I kept on getting asked over and over again by the users. It was nonstop. It was like, hey, you already have this wallet import. Can it do this? Can it do that? And I was like, you know what? And actually, another reason why it was born is fees, right? Lofty didn't account for fees, and I really wanted to know if I do short-term trading, the fees are very large, and it's keeping that track manually is just a lot of work. And the wallet scan does a pretty good job at, well, it covers all the fees except credit card fees. And credit card fees is a problem for me to cover. But if you don't use credit cards, and for me, for example, where I don't, and I know a few other people that don't, is like we get 100% coverage of fees in and out, so we know exactly what our cost basis is. And I have seen users come to me and say, "Hey, wallet scan is showing me I don't have as much profit as I thought I do," and they really mad at me. you know,
He's
can
being nice. People have come and said, "Hey, I'm losing money. I thought I was making money."
and it's like, yeah, because fees eat up a lot, and once you see that, you're like, okay, yeah, it's useful. Fees was a big one. Also, staking rewards. We could dedicate
I think you
another
added that
episode
because I
on.
asked. That's one I think I asked you, and you're like, "Oh, I could do that." And the next day we had it, so that was nice.
Yes, taking rewards is it's basically like, Mark, not sure if you're familiar, but you can lend that USDC or your tokens to this like community pool, and people like you will use your cash to cash in their tokens, or they will take your tokens and put in cash, and you get percentage for providing the liquidity. But it's very hard to know from like what exact amounts. I'm like, say I'll go in on locked and I'll be like, oh, I have $5 earned from liquidity pools, and then I have to kind of figure out, dig in, where did it come from. But now I have that, and then there is alerts around liquidity pools that are very useful for advanced users.
So I know like this administration right now is a little more crypto friendly. Like the Genius app and stuff that they're coming out with. Do you think any of this is gonna impact or help with these fractional real estate type platforms?
Well, I think the founders are operating. I think all the founders that are building on blockchain feel a little bit more at ease in terms of getting calls from regulatory agencies. I think that's the impact. I think number one that it will have it now. This could be temporary, or like, yeah, it's really hard to say the immediate the long-term impact. But I think the immediate impact is, I definitely hear chatter of founders just being a little bit more at ease, and a little bit more where previously they would not considering certain features on the blockchain, they now consider like, hey, maybe we should go back and dedicate some resources in building this out. So it's definitely having that impact. And I have, seen those conversations, and like not only in Lofty, but like in other companies. So it's like, okay, let's build this, let's go on that.
So I think Joseph, you're probably the very active in this space. Like we have the one rental at a time event coming up in February in Vegas. Do you think by maybe next year's event, so what, 2027, fractional real estate will be big enough to maybe have a speaker on stage presenting something on fractional real estate?
I would think so. I mean, if you just see like how fast Mogul is growing, for example. I mean, they put a property out last week. They were raising $332,000, which is a pretty big raise on their site. It's just the equity piece for the property, and it sold out. They do like a pre-launch that it sends it to existing users, and then they do that for a day or two, and then they have it on their platform publicly, and it sold out within 24 hours of being on the platform publicly. So like really within 3 days they raised $332,000, which for real estate investors in general, that's not a ton of money for a down payment for a bigger property. But in this community, like you'll see some platforms take 6 months to raise that much, and they're putting out a property every week. And because they're bringing really quality properties, again, in my opinion, do your own due diligence, but because they're doing that, it's just really shown like how fast you can grow if you're bringing the right product and doing a good job with it. So I think that, I mean, they're growing fast. even though Sol's Lot's been a little slow, I think their business model has, I think they're going to really explode over time. And then just more and more, Arrived has been, I mean, they have 500, 500 plus homes. It's a big, it's a pretty big portfolio. So yeah, I think a couple more years, you're just see, and the number of people who I've talked to that are thinking about building in this space, I mean, there's just tons and tons of people. You mentioned about like, well, is there going to be a difference from this administration? I've talked to a lot of people who see Lofty, who see a lot of the promise in what they're building, but see a lot of the mistakes that they've made and thought, I want to build a competitor. And a lot of them have, when they get to, okay, the regulatory issues around it, they get worried, right? Like they think maybe that's the reason that there's not a lot of competitors, even though that that particular setup, that business model, it seems like a great model, but it seems like it's not being executed great. And I think that a lot of competent people looking at building that have been scared about the regulation piece. And I think that I'm hoping that difference in the way that crypto is looked at in general and whatnot is going to create even more people building in the space. So yeah, I mean, I could imagine. I think sometime, and I don't know about 2 years from now, but 10 years from now, I think 50% of real estate investors are going to start with fractional real estate. I think they're going to buy it fractionally before they buy a property in real life. Not including homeowners, right? But like people that are actual real estate investors. Like I think because you learn so much, the barrier to entry so low. I don't need any debt in my name. I can do it with, a couple $1,000 and really get a portfolio. I don't see why it doesn't just keep growing as long as it doesn't get regulated out of existence.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, maybe we can make that push then. We'll make that push to get Joseph and Limas on stage in a few years. If
Yeah, I mean, as
Zuber,
long as my couch can fit up there.
Yeah,
oh,
I was
that's
gonna
what I was
say,
gonna say.
it's gonna need to be like one of those sit-down panels.
There's no recliner, man. You got to be on stage speaking.
Right.
But Hyder does have a question. He says, when Joseph says mogul, is he talking Realty Mogul? He's been with Realty Mogul about 5 years now.
It's mogul.club. They are Realty Mogul is not like truly a fractional platform. They might be. If you're an accredited investor, you can get like into a syndication through them, I believe. I'm not even positive, but their like main product is a REIT product. But mogul.club is a true fractional real estate investing platform. You're buying into individual properties. They're almost all pad splits and short-term rentals. And it's two guys from Goldman Sachs that worked in their private equity, like buying the same types of deals for a Goldman Sachs fund or some sort of money pool. And that sounded perfect, right? But then just took that same education and we're like, we're going to just do this ourselves. And that's why their average deal just makes so I have, I think, I don't know how many properties with them now, maybe 13 or 14. And my average cash on cash return with them is over 10%. And I'm doing nothing, right? Like, it's not, it's completely passive once you do your due diligence and pick the property.
Yeah, I think for the time being, Joe, would you say that Mogul is like the one where passive, if you're gonna be passive, that's probably the platform where you can be passive. I mean, there's not much you can actually do, but
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Arrived is the same, right? Like you can be completely
True.
passive, but Mogul
True.
is the place where you can get real returns
Get
and be
returns. Yeah.
completely passive.
Arrived, you staying passive and you'll get like really passive returns.
You'll get yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I
All
just
right,
hope they don't screw it up because they're definitely my favorite at the moment.
Yeah, I think you have a very good approach of sort of keeping an eye on like how is their progress gonna be, quality of deals. Is it gonna start wearing off or is it gonna stay on target? Are they gonna continue to do